nation of doers, not watchers. We like to be in there pitching all the time. We aren't wallflowers, not us. We're going to be in there doing the job, seeing that it's done properly. That's how we built this nation out of a wilderness. That's how we built the greatest industrial system the world has ever known. That's why we've got more lovely homes, more luxuries, more and better food, finer clothes, yes, the highest standard of living on earth. We've done this by carrying the ball, by taking on the tough assignments and licking them, not by letting George do it. That's why some of us feel we're on the sidelines now when the country faces the greatest job in history. Take the next-door neighbors. Dad feels that at least he should be helping with production, getting the goods and munitions out to the men who need them. But Dad works in a non-defense industry. Then there's Mary. She feels keenly the fact that she's not a trained nurse, for then she could be of real use, helping to save lives instead of pounding a typewriter. And little Billy, he resents his age because he's too young to do anything about the victory program, except dream about it. Yes, because they're not on the assembly line producing for victory, or saving lives of frontline fighters, or defending loved ones on the field of battle. They feel they're out of the picture, but just because we're not all on the firing line doesn't mean there isn't a job for all of us. There is a big job. It's called salvage. It makes you wonder when it's mentioned in the same breath with firing line, doesn't it? But just a minute. Let's see how important this job really is. We import a tremendous amount of wool. That is, we used to. Now we have to make millions of woolen garments and blankets to keep our millions of fighting men warm, which cannot be done without more wool. Wool is needed for war. Take rags, for instance. They're needed for cleaning guns to clean up the Axis. Should mills weave cleaning cloth when salvage rags can do the job? Metal means armaments. Without chromite, we can't make a single pound of armor plate. Without manganese, we can't make a single ton of steel. The loss of the Philippines in one murderous blow cut off a quarter of our chromite supply. 3/4 of our manganese now has to get through enemy waters. 50% of the metal in munitions comes from scrap. It used to be possible to use worn-out equipment for scrap. But vessels lying on the bottom of the ocean can't be scrapped. Metal also means food. Food for our armed forces. Food for the United Nations. Food supplied in tin cans. Food for fighters. But we don't possess any tin ore. We used to get our tin from Singapore and Malaya. Now the Japs do. Take rubber. Rubber is one of the most essential items of the war, and today the scarcest. These rubber plantations, they'd solve the problem easily. But they're in Sumatra, Malaya, the Dutch East Indies. And Sumatra, Malaya, and the Dutch East Indies are now in the hands of the enemy. Without rubber, planes can't fly, tanks can't move, field guns can't operate. Without rubber, warships can't function, goods can't flow along highways, workers can't get to machines to turn out production. We have less than half the ordinary rubber we use in 1 year. We're getting 3% of the rubber we got before the war. 3%. That's for all the United Nations. For this war of materials, the enemy has saved huge stocks. Vast distances and dangerous waters cut down our supply. The bitter truth is that the enemy controls major vital war resources. If we act now, salvage can make up the shortages. Well, what are we going to do about it? We can do things, and when we get mad, oh boy. Hey, soldier, here come Ma and Pa and the whole family. Now, here's what we're going to do, says Dad. We're going through this house from top to bottom and gather every single piece of metal and cloth and rubber that we don't really need. Yes, we've got the metal, none of us a great deal, a small piece here and there. But put all together, there's enough to sink the axis forever. We and our neighbors have it in every conceivable form, from an iron ashtray to a brass bed. We have it in lawnmowers, pipes, chains, in radios, worn-out pots and pans. We even have it in keys. And we've got the rubber. It's there in hot water bottles and bath curtains, in gloves and bathing caps, in rubber heels, in swimming suits, garden hose, and boots, in dozens of different forms. Yes, we've got the cotton and the wool. We've got them in worn-out towels and garments. We've got them in house furnishings, in tablecloths, in draperies, in hundreds of different items that can be spared. Yes, we've got the iron, the steel, the copper, the metal, the rubber. Let's get it, and let's give it. We can do it because we are a nation of doers, and this is a job that must be done now. There's no second chance for the stakes we're fighting for. Salvage, not a thrilling word, not like tanks or guns or bombers. But as we go into action at home, we're putting life into it, and death for the axis. For through salvage, pots, pans, and tin cans, flat irons, tires, and fats for glycerin, we can make up for the raw materials we used to get from distant lands. Salvage becomes vital when it leaves our attic or kitchen, basement, factory, or farm, and starts on its way to a little pile. It means more tools for war when it is brought to a community volunteer depot. It means power for our fighters when we sell it to a junk dealer or give it to a charity or take it to a collection point. A bathing cap. It didn't seem like much lying in the drawer of the bedroom dresser. It didn't seem like a great deal lying there in the box of scrap. But it begins to look like something when it gets in with Bill's stuff and Martha's and Jim's and Fred's and Nick the grocer's and Hank's over at the drugstore. It adds and mounts and builds into mountains of war materials, supplies and machines. Think of it. One old tire is used for 12 gas masks. 125 old tires are used for one flying fortress. One garden hose is used for 6 auxiliary tires for pursuit planes. Important? A half pound of rubber from every person in a good-sized city is enough to supply the needs of 25 battleships. Salvage important. Fats and oils from pan and broiler drippings are needed now for glycerin to make explosives, to make it hot for Hitler. Important when 30 million American families are pouring scrap iron and steel into a common pool. The genius of American industry and labor can build the most powerful war machine the world will ever see. And woe to the enemy! The word salvage not have meaning, not important? It's important enough to our Coast Guard. It's important enough to our soldiers. It's important enough to our sailors. It's important enough to our Marines. Yes, salvage is a life and death matter for all of us. Those who remain at home form the army behind the army. In the factory, on the farm, in the home. Today, no one is on the sidelines. Our president has said every child, every woman, every man has a job to do for salvage. and junk the Axis. We can do it. We must do it. We will do it. Ma is a doer. We can count on her to get every bit of salvage ready.